We are live.
All righty. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it may be when you all are tuning into this broadcast. I am your international award-winning author, literary extraordinaire, and awe-inspiring coach, Toneal M. Jackson. But on today, Toneal Talks Politics, and I am joined by my fellow cohorts within the Green Party, Miss Anna, who is our Illinois State Party rep, and then David. And so you guys have been seeing us. This makes 3 weeks now, right, guys? We are within a 10-week segment on the 10 key values of the Green Party. So in week 1, we hit a little bit on grassroots democracy. Last week, we talked about social justice. And so tonight, we are going to be talking to you guys about ecological wisdom. And so first, before we go into it, I always have to do my due diligence and introduce our panel, allow them to introduce themselves. So Anna, we're going to start with you. And then once she's done, David, you go ahead and tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
My name is Anna Scheifelbein. I've been an activist for over 20 years. I've been with the Green Party for a couple of years now, and I'm so glad I found my political home who has like the 10 key values. I can just run down the list really quick. The first one is grassroots democracy. The second one is social justice and equal opportunity. The third one, which is today's panel, is ecological wisdom. The fourth is nonviolence. Fifth is decentralization. The sixth is community-based economics. 7 is feminism and gender equity. 8 is respect for diversity. 9 is personal and global responsibility. And 10 is future focus and sustainability. So every Green Party member commits to these 10 key values. And it's nice when you're in when I'm in my green political home, I know the environment is a concern. I know we will not be, little fracking is okay. No, a ban on fracking is what we want. That's what we will hold true. So it is nice to know that these values are here and that it's the party that's driving the policy. The local parties are driving policy. State parties are driving policy. So I'm very much happy to have found my green political home.
Awesome. And David, we remember that you used to be libertarian and now you are here. So tell us a little bit about that, how that whole journey transpired.
All right. Well, hello, my name is David Rych. Thanks again for having me on. Yes, it's true. As of last year, as of last September, October-ish, I was a member of the Libertarian Party. I ran for Congress as a libertarian. I did not win, which is okay. And learned a lot about, the concepts of liberty and how important that is, but that there's a lot more to it than just personal freedoms. Every person lives in a society, and a society by definition is a collective, and if you live in a society, you're just going to have to share. It's a lot. Okay, I'm sorry. That's what it comes down to. And so, like Anna was saying, when I came across I'd known of the Green Party for a long time. I remember Ralph Nader way back in the day, running as a Green Party candidate. I always had a certain distant affection for it because I was always very big into the environment and climate change and knowing it's a very urgent issue and that kind of thing. And one of the things that frustrated me about libertarian drama is I just didn't seem to care enough about the environment. A lot of them thought it was a hoax, blah, blah, all that Republican nonsense. And I couldn't have that. And I came across the Green Party platforms one day. And I just, like I said before, I was just like, yep, check. Like I just agreed with every single one of them without exception, ardently and adamantly. I'm like, okay, it's time for a change. So I switched over and I met Alia and I met Anna and I met EDW and yourself and having a great time. I felt very welcome from the beginning. It automatically felt like a family that I was being welcomed into, which was very cool. There's not nearly even close to the same amount of bickering and animosity amongst Green Party members as I remember from the Libertarian Party, but these guys couldn't agree on anything. But yeah, it's good to be here.
That is awesome. And you know, that's one of the points that we wholeheartedly agree upon, that once we got to the Green Party, it really just seems like a big family, right? Like we all have those underlying issues that we definitely agree upon. And I think that it's brilliant for the Green Party to have the 10 key issues, right, that Anna kind of touched upon, and that we're going to be talking about. We started a couple weeks ago, and we'll be taking the rest of these 6-7 weeks to touch on, because the great thing about being green, as I always say, is the fact that there is something, I mean, guaranteed, that you're going to see that you like. There's going to be somewhere in there where you feel like, oh, I can join in, or oh, this hits me. If it's not everything, because David, you and myself, we both said going down the list, like, yep, I agree with grassroots democracy. I like social justice, ecological wisdom, community-based economics, feminism. You know, you just find yourself there. And so before we get into the actual discussion for tonight, I do just want to remind everybody that, again, if you are not already affiliated with the Green Party, you can become a member by going to our website, which is www.ilgp.org. That's www.ilgp.org. And if you have any questions, you can always shoot an email to info@ilgp.org. Maybe you want to know about some upcoming events. You may want to know exactly how you can fit in. Then send that email to info@ilgp.org. And later on in the broadcast, we'll tell you guys about some other events that we have that's coming up where you can jump in. And you might find yourself saying, well, I don't know if I really want to be a member just yet. Is there something else that I can do? Absolutely. You can volunteer. You can volunteer at or with the Green Party as well. So make sure that you reach out to Anna. She is our state party organizer. If that is something that you see yourself being interested in, we have different chapters throughout not just Illinois, but throughout different states as well. So this is not something that is just limited to those who live within the Illinois area. So now that all of that is out the way, let's kind of jump into the ecological wisdom. And I'm actually going to start with you and asking, when you hear that term, what comes to mind when you hear ecological wisdom?
I think of a holistic society. I think of us living in this earth, having enough oxygen to breathe, being able to drink safe water, and not having to worry about it, not having to have to fight so hard to stop corporations polluting harmful chemicals, known harmful chemicals, into the air, into our neighborhoods. And so when I think of ecological wisdom, I think of the wisdom, being smart enough to take care of planet A. There is no planet B. So to me, it's how do we achieve clean water? How do we achieve clean air? Where are our professionals on that, where they can say, this is how we get there. We know if we pollute less, there'll be less pollution in the air and in the water. We reduce plastic, we know there'll be less plastic in the ocean. And we know of ocean cleanups that happen, like Michigan, there's still, some things going on sometimes with the quality of that. So I think it's for us to, and I think this ties in with personal and global responsibility too, where we should take it upon ourselves to know what that ecological wisdom is. How do each one of us individually, how do we learn about that? How do we pass that education on? How do we inform our communities of that? How do we make sure our state legislators and our federal legislators know of this wisdom of, hey, polluting harmful chemicals in the air is not good. Hey, our coral reefs are dying. We might need those because science shows we get oxygen from them. And so it is that knowledge part of a holistic environment, and and I liked it what David would say, in a society you have to share, so let's share this information. Let's have science on the front of the newspaper, on the front headlines, like learning how to save the world, learning how to save the environment. Like, let's learn this. Let people who know it teach it to us. And I really feel like the ecological wisdom is having that knowledge and being able also to pass on that knowledge to the generations. And I very much do that with my kids as much as I can, and getting books from the library and learn about coral reefs, learn about greenhouse gas, because even though they're still tiny little people, they're the present. They have to know this knowledge in order to learn it and be able to pass that on to future generations as well.
That's awesome. David, is there anything you want to add to that? When you hear that term, what comes to mind for you?
Ecological wisdom, yeah, to me it means the right and proper relationship with nature. There's right ways to do things, and there's a lot of other wrong ways to do things. And wisdom is what tells you what's right and what's wrong. It's the when your moral intuition gets into your intellect and says this is how you do it, explicitly and analytically. To me, that's wisdom. There's all sorts of things that the analysts that we're doing wrong right now. And there's a few other ways of doing it right. And like we talked briefly about, I think last week after the show, or maybe it was during the show, the sense of urgency involved in applying these proper methods to getting to where we need to be, reducing the amount of carbon dioxide that we're putting into the air by 7.76% per year for the next 9 to 10 years. Gets us to a point where we can then maybe focus more on getting it done. We can reduce that number a little bit, and we have another X amount of time to get it down to absolutely zero emissions. And I'm hoping that Biden says he's doing that. And I just saw a couple articles today by Chevrolet and Ford companies. They're both trying to reduce the amount of gas using vehicles down to almost none at all. So they're actually making electric cars. They might leave gas vehicles for big trucks and stuff like that, because maybe that's just how they need to. They can't do what they do with all that weight with just electricity. I don't know, but it's a massive attempt at reducing the amount of carbons that cars put into the air, which is a huge problem. Cars are a huge problem. My point being is that there's 1,000 things that we're doing wrong, and there's about 5 things we need to do it right. And it's unfortunate that the global community isn't all on the same page concerning it. But there's definitely plenty of promise out there. I was in the store today, and I'm seeing all sorts of more and more organic stuff out there, which is good, and steps are being made. I think the biggest thing that when it comes down to what counts as ecological wisdom, meaning what is the one singular proper way to relationship with nature, includes a lot of humility. First of all, knowing your limitations, and that. But most importantly and most fundamentally, I think it just means that we need to stop thinking that we're separate from nature. That nature is this thing that we're supposed to commandeer, and have dominion over. That nature made us, okay? And so there's this, philosophical adage or position about what counts as your own property is everything that you labor, the fruits of your labor, what you make is yours. Well, expanding that beyond human beings, nature made us, so I guess in a way we kind of belong to nature. Now that's a weird thing to say. Nature doesn't have some sort of signed legal deed on us or anything else, but it's definitely a lot more powerful than we are, and it holds all the secrets to how things work. And we're blessed to have an intellect and rationality to figure out what those secrets are. But unfortunately, we tend to use those secrets to manipulate nature instead of coexisting with nature, or existing in the way that nature prefers things to go a certain way. There's so many different ways of getting it wrong, and only a few ways of getting it right. And I hope that people will pick up more and more on ecological wisdom and understand that there is a moral impetus to this whole thing, and that it's not merely a matter of survival, which it is that too, The nature is going to survive with or without us, whatever. Okay, that's just all there is to it. I would prefer the human race to survive because I think human race has a lot of potential to do a lot of great things. Thus far, seen very little of that potential, but I think we can get there.
Absolutely. No, I totally agree. And it is necessary that we possess this wisdom, right? And the thing about it is, for better or for worse, everyone is not automatically aware of what they need to do as it pertains to this topic. You said there are a lot of things that we can do wrong, and there are a few things we can do right. And so I want to kind of hone in today on that topic. So we were talking about corporately speaking, so from a corporation standpoint, but if I'm just your average Joe or Jill, if it were, and I want to know what I can do, what is my part to contribute to help become better, help nature, help what we're going through become better. What's some of those things that you talked about? He says about 4 or 5. So let's try to look at a realistic picture, if we're even looking at it as a call to action, that people would be able to watch and say, oh, that's something that I can do. Let's name some of those things. David, we'll start with you.
Well, I think one of the first things is, as far as what the average person can do, if you will, is you need to start buying more organic stuff. Buy organic food. That's going to increase the demand for it, and the demand will increase the supply because the market will accommodate, hopefully, to start building more local organic farms, which will increase the amount of supply, which increases the amount of demand. There's a beautiful symbiotic relationship there. So I think that's probably number one, is you need to go organic as much as you can. I get that right now organic food can be sometimes a lot more expensive than non-organic food. I get that. So don't wreck your financial status because somebody's telling you to go all organic, but try to do as much as you can. And I think the second thing too is a huge part of it is I think we need to start becoming more self-sustaining in our individual rights. If you live in the city, that's a different thing. But if you live if you have a lawn of some type, start growing your own vegetables. Start growing your own as much as you can. You're going to save a lot of money. It's a lot healthier. Fresh is always more tasty. That kind of thing. So because there's going to come a time too where markets might not be doing very well, and you might actually have to rely just on your own stuff. And another thing is just diet in general. I honestly think that people need to. About a month or so ago, I decided to go. At least 80% of my diet is vegan. No animal products at all. It's not a whole. I'm not a vegan because a whole vegan would be 100%, and I'm not that. But I feel great. Everything is functioning better and that kind of thing, and it's easy to do. It's amazing how tasty vegetables are with all the different types of recipes out there. And the thing is that a vegan diet or a vegetarian diet, for the most part, is just better for the environment. Raising cattle is a really bad situation. Okay, it's not just the methane gas and the greenhouse effect, though that too, but and not merely the ethical underpinnings of how we treat animals, but that too. But the amount of energy it takes the amount of calories burned to get 10 calories from a cow is this much to this much, which is the exact opposite of efficiency. Efficiency is the least amount of input with the greatest amount of output. Raising cattle goes this way. Okay, it's just a really stupid system. And red meat is not good for you. I'm sorry, it's just not good for you. And I like ribeyes and I like cheeseburgers too. I really, really do. Okay, but at some point we got it to be personal and global responsibility. You're just you need to make some changes in your diet so that the effect of the changes that each person makes, when enough people do it, forces the markets to start doing what they want them to do with the animals. Now, I don't think it's inherently wrong to eat animals or animal byproducts. There's probably no greater biological proposition that's true as much as the one that life feeds off of life. That's just how it goes. That's how nature works. Plants and trees are alive too. So even if you go to a full plant-based diet, you're still taking life away from the earth and using it for your own self. That's how it has to be. So I'm not saying that anybody needs to be 100% vegan. I have morally so. But if you can increase it up to about 80, 85%, which is not hard, by the way, you're going to make a huge impact if enough people do it on the markets, and they're going to start listening to us. Raise these animals more humanely. There are ways of taking their lives that they don't feel any pain at all. And because if you look at these slaughterhouses, if you look at these animal farms and everything, they are horrible. Have you ever seen any of these documentaries? I mean, these chickens in cages and the way the just all collected together and bumping into each other. And you ever know how veal is made? Anybody know how veal is made? I'll let you look at it. Oh, well, check it out. It's horrifying. Okay. Veal's tasty stuff. So yeah, I guess those are the top 5 things. Go organic, change your diet, and try to get to some sort of sustainability on your own acreage of land or whatever you have. Even inside your house, grow your own herbs if that's all you can do. Do something. You don't have to do everything to do something.
Awesome. Come on, Anna, contribute a little bit to that. Like you yourself, what are you doing to pretty much practice ecological wisdom?
Well, I'm looking at it more from a science and policy point of view, but we have been learning about the greenhouse gases and about the meat diet, and we have been changing some things in the household. So we are trying to get to that 80% plant-based diet, and it's, to me, it's like, what's for dinner? And in my household, when we were growing up, it was meat. And so it's just like, it was so natural for me to, okay, we're having meatloaf today, or we're having, sloppy joes today. And so it's seeing what's out on the market and incorporating that plant-based diet into our diet. And for me to change the way I'm doing things and teaching my children how to make still, a good food with a plant-based diet, things that we're used to, but still a plant-based diet. And so it's nice. They're 7 and 9, so I give them a little kitchen chores during this or whatever. So it's nice that I get to, learn it for myself and then pass it along at the same time, and for them to get those healthy eating habits, right when they're young too. It's nice to see that, hey, they do like all these vegetables and fruits in the house, and they grab that first, and that will be hopefully a lifetime habit where they will grab, the fruits and vegetables first. And so, so we've been doing that in the household. And then I have been looking at how I'm not a scientist, and I can study and read journals about how, it's sometimes such a vague phrase, save the planet, and it's like, I want to save the planet today. But when you get to it, it's like, how are you going to do that? What can you do in your life that you want to do with your resources, the things that you know how to do, things that you might want to learn what to do. You might want to learn, what can I do more with my skill set, or develop new skills. And so I think that's where the Green Party comes into play, the Illinois Green Party. We're always welcoming people and experts. Love hearing from the experts. I know when I go to the dentist, I'm like, I don't care. Tooth number 4, 14, doesn't matter to me. Just fix it. Like the same, I depend on the nurses and the doctors for information with COVID and other information, depending on these people to get the answers. And so, or at least a study, at least their opinion of it. And so, when you say save the environment, it's more to that than just a want or a desire or a vague statement that you're going to put on your Facebook page. It's how are you going to do that? How are you going to contribute to doing that? And the Illinois Green Party, we can offer the team, we can offer the resources, we can offer more contacts or a database. We can get you to where you want to be. And then we love having people on board to help guide us there. It's all hands on deck. So it's definitely not this group or that group. It's all of the groups coming together. So And it is under, everybody commits to those 10 key values. And so it's nice where it's like, we don't have to wonder what that person's, if they're even concerned about the environment, if they're concerned, if they like non-renewable energy, well, we don't have to worry about that so much, because we, as a green, we like renewable energy. That's just our thing. We have to get there one day, and the longer we wait, the harder it is. But we have to learn how to get that in the most efficient way with the littlest inputs and the most outputs. And so it is, I think that there is still a learning thing, because we don't have really science on the forefront in our country. We don't have, this is what the scientists say. We have Dr. Fauci, great, awesome, one person. Imagine if he wasn't there. Or somebody else was there, but he's the doctor. He's leading the nation with his opinion, and I for one am thankful that he's there. That at least it's a person who can give a very knowledgeable answer and give that opinion out. And so I think when people say I want to save the earth, or I want to help out with saving the environment, it comes to how are you going to do that? And that's where the Illinois Green Party can come into play and be like, this is how we can help you, help us, help the earth. So we're all, it's a big help fest here. So yeah, we definitely need to know some more of where is our biggest things that we can do, are the least amount of inputs and to get the most outputs. And so I hope we can, put some pieces together and get some policy out there quickly on the state level and move forward with this, because it is a top concern. People on this panel and probably people watching the panel, but when I talk to people, climate always comes out as a number one concern. And to me, it's number one concern, because without saving the planet, without learning these more things that we can do to help save the planet, there is no planet B. There is nowhere where we can go. So we have to dig our heels in. We have to roll up our sleeves. We got to get in that policy, and we got to drive it forward. And we have to drive it forward like it was 10 years ago, because we're coming off the scientists. There's some scientist groups are saying we only have 7 to 10 years before things go real south. And we see that. We see that with climate change. We see that with water patterns that are different. We see that with air quality. So even though we might see this happen here or happen there, it's happening in a lot of places more than what we hear about. And I think the news can help out with that too. I think our media can really help, not just do an expose and a one-time deal, but no, really educate the people on what they can do.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And so if you all are just tuning in, you are joining the Green Panel. Great discussion on ecological wisdom. We've already kind of dropped some nuggets for you as to what ecological wisdom means, and then specifically for the Green Party and for you as individuals, what are some things that you can do right now? And so just to summarize some of the things that we discussed, one of the things that you can do is educate yourself. So if you are not aware of what ecological wisdom is, what it means, not just for you, but for your family, for your immediate world around you, as well as the world at large, do some things to educate yourself so that you are not walking in ignorance, right? And then Anna kind of mentioned the greenhouse gases, and then we talked about being able to buy organically, how that is definitely better for the planet and better for you as a person than the other way. And David was saying, hey, even if it may be more expensive, still see if you can kind of shift out some things here and there to buy organically. And then right along with that is being self-sustaining. So regardless of how much area you have, many neighborhoods, even if like people don't have their own acreages, as you were saying, there are a lot of neighborhoods that like within in the neighborhood, they're growing gardens. And so you can participate in those things. And so again, we want to give you all practical ideas that you can use to actively practice ecological wisdom. So it's not just things that we're talking about. I remember when I was younger, it used to have the cartoon with Captain Planet, you know, and it was always about saving the planet and earth, wind, fire, air. You had those things there. But as we're talking about, we think that we have until, you know, the year 3000 and the year 2100. But the fact of the matter is that if we don't act more responsibly, very soon we may not have a planet. We may not see the year 2080. And so we have to be very cautious in what it is that we're doing. And so again, in buying organic or being self-sustaining, if you have the ability to grow your own garden, even if it's just plants that David referenced, those are things you can do. And then finally, we talked about something as simple as changing your diet. And, you know, you may not totally become a vegan, but whether it's vegan or vegetarian, incorporating more plant-based foods into your diet. And that's something that I believe everybody can do. Even me, I believe that I can commit, and I will commit to doing that, like incorporating more, because I'm not a huge meat eater. You can't look at me and tell, but I'm not a huge meat eater as it is. But like you said, just to be able to have more greens in your diet is healthier for you, and it would be healthier for the planet as well. And so what I want to do at this point is kind of shift, right? Because that's what we were talking about that we can do practically. But I want to touch bases on what you ended with, Anna, talking about policy change, because now that's going to go more from just me individually to what we as a society, whether it's your particular town or city or state, how we can on a larger scale begin to have an impact or implement ecological wisdom. So within that, you kind of touched on climate change and air quality. But David, I'm gonna go to you now and kind of expound on how policy change can help us within that area of ecological wisdom.
Okay, I mean, there are two major things that come to mind off the cuff. Is the government needs to stop subsidizing industries that pollute. I mean, Biden said it in the debate with Trump. You know, I'm going to take down the oil companies, and Trump, of course, got on him about that because it's going to lose jobs, and it's part of his environmental program to train all these people that would lose jobs to how to have jobs in the green industry. Nobody's going to lose anything, okay? Everybody's going to gain from this. But the thing is that the government subsidizes these things with tax breaks and actual just here's some money to a great degree. And it's just, first of all, it's not fair to any other industry. It's just stupid that, a government is picking what markets are going to, flourish and what aren't in a capitalist system. But whatever. So subsidizing, bad industries like oil and coal, fracking. I don't know what Biden's problem is with this whole fracking thing. Like, he said that he wasn't going to do it. Now he's saying he's going to do it. I need to do a lot more research on fracking, but the little I've done, I do know this, and maybe this is where he's coming from. If fracking is done exactly right, like, it's okay. But it's really, really, really hard to do it exactly right. That's also my. So if that's the case, it's a risk benefit sort of thing. Like, if the risk is this high and the benefit's this high and it's really hard to do, then just don't do it. Anyway, okay. And I've mentioned this before, I believe here, I know elsewhere, is that the number one, I mentioned it here, the number one polluter in the world is the American military. It's disgusting how much it's literally equal to 140 other countries put together. That's stupid. I mean, that's crazy. So we need to just reduce the military. We should be doing that anyway. I mean, we have such a bloated military. We could take over the entire galaxy with our military if we wanted to. It's just dumb. Those are the two main things the big things that come to mind is that we need to stop subsidizing polluting industries, and we need to reduce the military considerably.
Okay. Now, Anna, I want to go to you because we throw around the term fracking a lot, right? David just said it, that we need to figure out how to, or reference and Biden, how to do it, right? But there are a lot of people who may not even know what that term means. So why don't you break that down for us, Anna, and then we'll build it back up. So what is fracking? When we hear that term, what does that mean?
Okay. I am not a scientist. I don't claim to be an expert in fracking. What the little I do, I'm with David, you know, and then it's like the wisdom part of it too, the ecological wisdom. And we're not, you know, I'm not an expert in the fracking field and how do we do it right, you know. These are things that we don't know, and that is part of the ecological wisdom is maybe the news media should have, you know, a news article or a series on what is fracking and why is it so important in our environment. And I you know, I hope that the media, you know, does do more of these science-based series and articles about environmental issues. These are critical, important issues that are on people's minds. And just because it doesn't meet the status quo doesn't mean it's not important. Doesn't mean that it won't sell any copies, because it will. People want to know about the scientific backgrounds of fracking, of the environment, and one way to do that is through the newspaper. But if it's not something that they're willing to talk about, you know, there's the third party media, but that's also harder to come across. And so, so the little that I know about fracking is just probably basic to what other people know. It's you're going deep into the earth, and to extract oil or other resources. So to me, I'm very cautious, and when I hear, especially at this time, this critical time in our Earth's history, where we're not treating it very well. Just go right on in and dig deep and find out what we have to do what to get more oil. You know, we need to move past this. We have to start thinking about the future. We have to start thinking about what is in our society's best interest. How can we live within our means? What is the best efficient method of energy? Is it really digging deep in our Earth's I don't know, crust, I think is what they call it, at this time in our Earth's history? That to me is where I don't understand why it's so important to do it right now. We want to move past these fossil fuels. We want to have renewable energy. And how do we attain that? You know, we need the scientific background for that, which a lot of people, including myself, don't have. We don't have the means. Hey, here is what this professional has said about that. Or even if they have a discussion, one every day, just have a different person, you know, talk about an article. So I really do think that we do need to live within our means. I don't think fracking is one of them, and I know that there was the Kansas fracking, and I think they finally attributed the earthquake to fracking, and that to me is also scary too, because I don't want to be touching the earth all the way down there. We don't know what's going on down there, so I don't want to touch it. I don't want it to be a human-made mistake of if we go down there. And we should be able to supply everything that we have without having to build power plants, without having to go fracking, without having to build miles and miles of pipelines. Like, we should be able to be as self-sufficient as we can. We shouldn't have to, and that, you know, we are human. We do have brain power. We do have intellect. And so I do think that it is like our personal responsibility to learn what that is for the best interest of everybody and the earth. We are very much interrelated to nature, very much interrelated to this earth, and we need to be nice to Mother Earth. We need to treat her with kid mittens right now, because things have been getting a lot out of control, and we can see that. We can see that in our air. We can see that in our oceans. We can see that in our water. And so these are very critical items that I think keeps on getting pushed on the back burner because it doesn't affect the average person on a daily basis. But then I'll hear of things going on, and also with Flint, Michigan, like that is not okay. So, and we'll hear about it, but then again, it comes back from the news. The news lets us hear about that once in a while, and then it's like, and it's an isolated incident. Everything's just going to be okay, but it might be an isolated incident. There's also other isolated incidents going on. There's concerns about the water in 10 years. I mean, that's not a lot of time. There's not a lot of time to figure things out to get the society educated and move forward with that. So I do think a lot of it comes from from educating the public and encouraging the scientists, encouraging people to go to school to learn about this, and huge student loan debt. We really need to take care of ourselves, our environment, and each other. And I don't think fracking is necessarily the answer to that.
That's good. That's good. So for those of you, again, who may just be tuned in, we are discussing ecological wisdom. I am joined by Miss Anna Scheifelbein as well as David Rych, who are Green Party members, and we really enjoy what it means to be green. And so we have been taking our time, started a couple of weeks ago, to break down for you guys over the course of 10 weeks. We are going to be explaining the key values, the 10 key values of the Green Party, as what it means to the Green Party, to us, and to you if you decided to become a member. And so again, you can do that by visiting our website, www.ilgp.org, www.ilgp.org. If you have any questions, you can feel free to send an email to info@ilgp.org. And then again, if you want to volunteer, you're hearing some of the things that we're talking about. We're talking about how you yourself can contribute more and practice more as it pertains to ecological wisdom, as well as the various policies that may be able to be enacted. You can volunteer. Go to www.ilgp.org/volunteer. So that way you will get an idea of what it means to be a Green Party member. And I'm sure once you volunteer, you attend a few upcoming events, that really will persuade you to become a full-fledged member. And so at this point, and I want to stop and kind of insert the things that we have coming up, and then we'll go ahead and we'll close out our segment. But just in case there's some people that's watching and they're like, oh my God, I really love what you guys are saying. Do you have any events that's coming up? Why don't you go ahead and let them know about that?
Well, at the website, ilgp.org/events, we have some chapter meetings coming up. They're public, so feel free to go to any one of them. They're mostly on Zoom these days, so you can attend even though if you're not in the vicinity. We do have on the 18th of February, Medicare for All event, 101 single payer 101 event to kind of learn about just a basic 101 presentation on single payer. What is single payer? What will that look like? What is the savings on that? So we're gonna go ahead. We have a nice presentation lined up for that. We have presentations all the time. We're always having chapter meetings, and we're doing a big workshop in the spring convention in April, and so more details on that to come. we're doing really good. We have a new website coming down that's going to be more user-friendly and give more resources out to our local members and chapters. So we're really excited. It's a great time to be green. Everybody's learning a lot. We're working in teams. So it is a really good time to come in to the Green Party. And I'll be on the phone with a new volunteer and I'm interested in these items and the environment, Medicare for all, and maybe one or two local interests that they're interested in. But it's always, what can I do when I work with them? Well, what about this or that or the other, policies, speaking, petitions, what's your flavor? What do you like to do? Some people just like to do admin work, while other people are like, I love to speak. All right. So it's, what do you want to do? What do you do? And then it's an all hands on deck. So come bring your resources, join up with our resources. The more the merrier, the more we get to build, the more policy we drive out, and the more general awareness that we have too about living green, being green, and being part of the Green Party. Some people also have, oh, well, the Green Party do this. All right, well, come on board and look at your resources. We'll look at ours and we'll put something together and let's drive that. Let's have your individual idea, your unique perspective, your political experiences. Let's put that to good use. Let's put that for the use of good to be moving forward. I'm tired of these policies that keep on moving us backwards. I'm tired of just being stuck in the past. And it's 2020. It's time to open up our eyes and say, whoa, there's all these signs happening. All this climate change is happening. There's something that needs to be done because we can see these signs and we can see why these signs are happening. We can see plastic in our ocean. We can look at the air quality reports and see there's a decline. Like, we can see water being an issue for several states. So we know this information and just blindly not even paying attention to it, not learning about it, not digging in deep with it. And I think that really sets us back. And I think like the news media, when they don't talk about it, it's also just like an issue in the dark. And it's not an issue in the dark. And the more we keep the environment as an issue in the dark, the harder it is for us to kind of bring it around. I know David gave the stats one time where it was, and you can give them out again, but the longer we wait, the harder it is. And I'm tired of waiting.
Absolutely. And so we want you all, if you are watching and you want to get involved, we want you to get involved. As Anna said, there are so many different levels and so many different opportunities. So if you want to come in and you want to kind of sit back and learn more about politics, more about what it means to be green, you have the opportunity to do that by joining some of the upcoming events. Again, if you happen to be within the Illinois region, we have a Cook County Green Party. There's an Illinois Green Party, as well as different types of green parties within Chicago. So some of them are according to issues and some of them are according to demographics. But there are so many things, and again, not just limited to Chicago and Illinois. There are different states. So that's why we encourage you to go to the website www.ilgp.org so you can find out more. And then if you are more of a leader and you're more of a take charge type of a person, you want to be a speaker, you want to run for a particular office, then we can also help you with becoming acquainted with being a candidate. So all of those things, regardless of where you see yourself within the Green Party, and we will be able to help to catapult you wherever it is that you are trying to go. And so again, just in kind of wrapping it up, it does not seem like, guys, we are almost at the hour mark already. But in week one, we talked about what it meant to have a grassroots democracy and to be part of grassroots Last week, we talked about social justice and equality. And then this week, we've been talking about ecological wisdom. So, David, to you, if there were any lasting points that you wanted people to know about ecological wisdom on any level, whether it's personal or corporate, any type of tips or whatever that you want to leave with the people, what would those words be?
Well, I think that you need to, I would recommend people educate themselves on these issues. And in order to be educated, you need to be humble and learn that and realize that there are people out there that know more about it than you do. As a bartender, and though I'm now currently not bartending, I just remember listening to people, Republicans, of course, screaming about how, they know more about this issue than scientists do. And I remember asking a couple of them, like, what did you go to college? Yes. What's your degree in? Oh, finance. You know more about science than a scientist does because you studied finance? No. Stick to making money. When I need to make money, I'll call you. Okay? Stop chiming in on issues that you don't know anything about. Okay? I'm not saying that scientists are always right, because they're not. But the scientific method is designed to correct itself. Okay, and that's why peer review is so important. But that doesn't mean that you can ever know better than a scientist if you're not at all trained in the sciences. Anyway, so educate yourself. First of all, get over yourself. Secondly, educate yourself. And thirdly, and on that, educating yourself, there's a book I would recommend. It came out within the last year. It's called The Climate Crisis and the Green New Deal by Noam Chomsky and somebody else. I don't remember his name. Noam Chomsky is nobody to be trifled with. He can be a little highbrow intellectual. This book is not that, though. It's very accessible and it's very informative, and it really lays it out for you and what needs to happen in order for the changes to take place as quickly as they need to take place. It's a very, very cool book. The Climate Crisis and the Green New Deal, Noam Chomsky, and it'll come up. I can't remember the other guy's name. He's an economist. Noam Chomsky's all sorts of things. He's the founder of modern day linguistics. He's considered the most important intellectual in the world. I mean, he's unbelievable. After that, I would just, start going on YouTube and looking up tutorials, documentaries, whatever. There's all sorts of documentaries out there on becoming vegetarian, vegan, forks over knives, animal cruelty documentaries like Earthlings. Watch Earthlings. Oh, wow. There's all sorts of things out there. There's no lack of information to educate yourself from. My buddy John Dempster and I, John Dempster is a Green Party member out in Oregon, Portland, Oregon. He and I are going to be starting a podcast, a weekly podcast, maybe bi-weekly, in a week or two. And everyone is going to be dedicated to these sorts of issues. Organic gardening, farming, permaculture, soil, trees, the climate crisis problem. It's all going to be earth stuff. So that'll be very cool and hopefully very informative for people too. So stay tuned for that.
That is awesome. I'll definitely be tuned in because, again, as you said, a lot of it starts with educating yourself, right? A lot of times I think we overcomplicate things or we feel intimidated because we're not educated about it, right? Like just when we were talking earlier about figuring out how to explain fracking. A lot of times people hear issues and because they're not educated about it, they automatically assume that, oh, that's not for me, or it's not something that I can do, as opposed to just making it less intimidating and just educating yourself about what it actually means. And you'll find out that probably more times than not, you actually can do something about it. There is a way that you can get involved. So Miss Anna, are there any final remarks or final things that you would like to leave with the listeners and the viewers about ecological wisdom?
Yeah, well, I wanted to thank for all the listeners sticking it out this far. It doesn't seem like an hour, but it is. I think being in a self-sufficient environment and understanding that we are connected. I think the first step, we are connected to nature. We are connected to this earth. This is the only planet we are going to have. There is no planet B. There's nowhere else for us to go. And even if there was, this is our home. You don't want to be trashing the house and making a mess out of it. This is our home and we need to take care of it And I think a lot of it too is breaking those bad habits and or breaking old habits and making new habits. And instead of posting something on Facebook, we'll pick up a book instead. And when it comes to what's for dinner, looking more at a plant-based diet than just throwing sloppy joes together. So I think that it's not going to be easy, but nothing really worth doing is easy. I think it's going to be hard, and I do think that if we all individually do something, one part of it will add up to a lot. And I do see a lot of the youth having climate as their number one issue or their only issue, because that is the only issue to them that is important. And we need to drive this message home to our legislators. And it does kind of, like with Medicare for all, 7 out of 10 Americans want it. Represent Us has the Anti-Corporation Act. Lots of people are behind that. So the majority of Americans are in favor of certain issues, but we're not seeing that. We're probably never we're not gonna see that. So it's just so disconnected between the American people and the legislators that it's not a perfect match. It's never intended to be a perfect match, but I feel we have to be calling more action out. We have to be doing more general awareness. The news people, they're not doing it for us. They're not teaching us science. They're not teaching us about fracking. They're not teaching us that we need to take care of our earth and it is our nature. So I do hope that the youth has this collective thought where it is important. We're gonna hold the line when it comes to fracking. We're gonna hold the line when it comes to renewable energy. So I do think that the next generation that's coming up is gonna take care of our earth better than we in the past have. And I think it's because it is.
Awesome. So guys, that is basically the show for today. Again, I want to thank, I will say my co-hosts, even though technically they're panelists, but I just feel like they're just as part of the show, as much part of the show as I am. I could definitely not do this without them. Into our state, I'm going to call you our representative, okay? But our state party organizer, Ms. Anna Scheifelbein, as well as David Rych. Thank you guys so much for joining me in this episode of Toneal Talks Politics, where we have spent the last hour talking about ecological wisdom. So again, if you are trying to learn what you can do to be more participatory in helping to save the planet, then make sure you follow some of the tips we provided here today. Educate yourself. And David left a great nugget. You can get the book that's called The Climate Crisis and the Green New Deal. The Climate Crisis and the Green New Deal. That's one of the ways, as well as going to YouTube and watching various videos. Also, make sure that you buy organic, if at all possible. Buy organic. Become self-sustaining. So whether it means that you grow your own food personally, participate in a neighborhood garden, grow things even within your house, make sure that you do that, as well as actively change your diet by incorporating more plant-based items to your diet. So we're hoping that these things have helped you. Obviously, we touched upon some policies such as climate change and then air quality, but we really want for you to focus on what you can do personally to help change. Each one reach one mentality. And so again, if you've liked what you heard and you want to become part of the Green Party, we encourage you to do so by going to the website www.ilgp.org. That's www.ilgp.org. And if you have any questions, you can send them to info@ilgp.org. If you want to volunteer, you can go to ilgp.org ilgp.org/volunteer. And if you want to know what we have coming up, then you can go to ilgp.org/events. But again, we have something for everyone. And even if you are looking to create your own chapter, you like what you hear, but you don't see what is a part of you or something that's inside of you, you really want to touch on that and grow it, then that's something that you can do as well. So again, everything is here for you within the Green Party. We'll find a way to make it work for you. So we encourage you to join us next week in part 4 of this ongoing series as we discuss nonviolence. So thank you guys so much. And I'll see you two next week. And hopefully you all will join us as well. Thank you guys so much. Until next time, you all stay inspired.
Thanks, Toneal. Bye-bye.
Bye.